Hello, my name is Daniel Posney, and I live in Sedona, and this is Shifting Perspective. Today, I want to talk about um, breath work, and more precisely, intensive transformational breath work. Not the kind of breath work that you might do in a yoga class, not Ujjayi breath or not focused breathing, but this is more of it's cathartic breathing technique. And I want to share with you my passion about it. And so I've been kind of recently invigorated by someone's experience and my recent experience giving it. And I'm reminded about the profound nature of this exercise and this divine grace. Some people go into breath work thinking that it's just kind of a breathing technique that'll help me breathe better, but it's so much more than that. And when I try and describe to someone the impact that it may have on their life, it feels like I'm blowing smoke, or that this is some kind of a pie in the sky kind of thing. But it's really true. It's hard to describe to somebody that's hasn't done it before, or maybe hasn't done it with the right practitioner in the right way, or maybe that the person that's been trying to do it hasn't been fully surrendered to the process. When I see somebody that is fully surrendered to the process, that is giving themselves up to it, and follows the instructions and goes for it in a big way, it's a life changer. It really, I mean, if what I mean by the title that I've given this talk is breathwork gives you what you've been longing for. And it's not more love in your life. It's not more abundance in your life. It's true connection with your God self, with God realization, with divine grace, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that you're so much more than your physical self, knowing that you will never be separate from the divine in a physical reference, in a physical way, in a spiritual way, an emotional way. And it's one that it's hard to describe sometimes um with even thinking about it right now, just trying to describe it, I still struggle with this after 15 years of doing this, because I know what's possible, and I know that sometimes people don't go all the way into it, and I have to be ready for that, and I have to be okay with that, and not be attached to someone having this divine experience every time. But what I've seen is that when people properly prepare themselves and go into it, like I remember going into toad medicine years ago, and I thought I might die that day, and I was okay with it. And I was just wanted to completely give myself to the ceremony. Completely wanted to give myself to the medicine. And when someone goes into breath work, giving themselves so completely with the medicine, and not going in with okay, I know how to do this. This is, yeah, I got this. I know I've got it. That's the way to go into it. That's not going to give you the full experience. If you go in the way that says, I think I've got it, and all I need to do is breathe as big as I can and completely surrender and listen to what Daniel's talking about, that's the way you're going to have a great experience. Or anyone else. There's some great breathwork practitioners, but I would recommend a practitioner that knows how to meet you and knows how to look for the signs of your awakening or your closing down. Um, if you have anxiety and worry in you, there's a practitioner that's able to see that, and is able to work with that and pull you out and pull more out of you, even in the anxiety, in the most loving way that causes you to heal the anxiety right in that process. So I've seen lots of different results and conditions, and heart conditions, anxiety, PTSD, cancer, all kinds of things. And there's a way to move yourself in the breathwork process as a practitioner that can see the signs of resistance or the signs of opening. And some of them are very subtle. Sometimes they're just facial expressions. Sometimes it's just a twitch in the body. Sometimes it's looking at the hands and what their hands are doing. And a lot of times it's just a feeling. It's a like these days I go into the breath work with going into the journey with them. It's like they're taking the medicine and you're taking the medicine. And I tend to go into it and I can feel, not just see, but feel when they're in it, when they're in the zone, when they're in that process. And it's just the most blissful state for all of us. And sometimes I'm just pulling back, just hands in prayer position and namaste, and just blessing this whole moment with what I know that they're experiencing right now. So you really want to be with a practitioner that can feel that and that can work with all those signs and signals, and be able to push where needed and to pull back where you know that they're really not going to be able to go much further than where they're at. So highly recommended for you, even if you've done breath work before, that for you to go into that breath work with a feeling like you have never done it before, and that even though that you think that you might know what's going on, that this is your first time, and you're going to get a different experience with each practitioner and each moment of your life that you're in. So you're going to be in a place of complete surrender, and maybe just needing some comfort and needing some retreat and some rest from your daily life. But there's a point when you're right in that moment of complete surrender and completely engaging fully. um, you'll know when you're not quite in it, when you're starting to think too much and you're starting to worry about if you're doing it right. You'll know physically if you're in too much resistance, if your hands start cramping up, and also if your mouth starts to close down. So I teach people to breathe in through their nose and exhale out through their open mouth. Ha, like that. And the moment that your mouth starts to close down from ha down to, and you start breathing, that's not going to do it. That's not going to cut it. And you can't say that you've really done breath work. So if you've gone into breath work, you're completely engaged in it like Crazy Eddie selling stereos on the East Coast, like that guy, then you'll know that you've done breath work. If you have not had a full cathartic release and some kind of a spiritual or physical release or awakening, you might want to try it again. In fact, I would try it again and again and again and keep on doing it, because it gets easier and better every time. I know that, I've been doing it for so long, but I go into it much faster, but I still get emotional releases and spiritual awakenings and just deeper and deeper reminders of who I really am. And it's what's happening sometimes is when you really engage in breath work, there's this potential of something ineffable. And I looked up the word ineffable, and I've been using it a lot lately. It's something that's indescribable and almost ununderstandable, not be able to be understood. So it's that feeling of, I have no idea what I am. I have no idea, but I have everything within me to do and to be what I am in this world. It's that complete knowing and embodiment of your divine nature. That's something that's hard to be really expressed to someone and told to someone and have them understand until you have a direct experience of it. And this breath work and the way that I and other people have been doing it can give people that direct reference point of your divine nature. And that is what I believe that we all long for. In the world, we long for connection and relationship and abundance and all these things. But what our soul really wants is that reconnection with source, the reconnection with God, with creator, with the universe, with what we really are. And we're going to get it when we die. So why not what we really want is to have that before we die, to be able to be in this world, in this reality, with that connection, with that knowing, and then move in the world with that knowing, that reference point. If you've never done intensive breath work like this before, here's what happens. The practitioner is going to discover with you, is going to open up the discussion and find out what has been going on in your life emotionally, what your negative theme has been. So what most people know about me is that my theme in the past has been guilt and obligation. and not feeling significant and appreciated and acknowledged. That's been like my bubble, but I'm not that anymore. But I know that that's kind of been the emotions and the theme that I've been playing around with. So whatever the theme is for you, that's just needs to be brought to the surface. So it can come up kind of out of the depths of your body because it's being held there to come up to the surface so that it can be released. And this is what breathwork can do is can whatever is right up at the surface is can be released. So we have a little discussion. It's nothing crazy, just kind of okay. So what's been going on with this relationship, and how did you feel with that? And just a kind of a nice little loving discovery. And then while those emotions are kind of remembered, you go into breathwork and you lay down. You lie down on your back. Maybe you got like a cushion under your knees to make you more comfortable. A blindfold is great, so they help you get more into the process and more into the zone. Um, and what I do is I bring blankets because I tend to get really cold when I'm going through the process of release, and it's an energetic thing that happens. And when I tighten up, that's when I'm holding on to things. But when I get cold, and I cough and burp and laugh and fart and yawn and stretch, those are all forms of releasing energy, and it's releasing those stuck emotions. So you're lying down and you're going to be breathing in a long, deep breath. All the way down. So the emphasis is on the exhale. So we do that for a while. And in the meantime, music is playing. And over the years, I've picked some music that's been so perfect. It stirs the right emotions at the right time. And then when we elevate it and we start to increase our breath rate, the music turns into more of an indigenous or tribal beat, and it just hits the right button. So every once in a while, I'm going to have you take a deep breath and then hold that breath. And it does a couple things. It holds the carbon dioxide in your body a little bit longer. And what that does is that releases oxygen molecules and into your body. And it also gives you a break. It gives you a break from the heavy breathing that you've been doing. So it's kind of a welcome thing to hold your breath. And then the other thing it does is that as you release that breath, it releases down and it's just a big surrender. It just is something that feels really good. And it's also releasing all that carbon dioxide, old cells, toxins, and all that stuff. Then we get back into the breath. And as we go along, the breath starts to quicken and starts to deepen. And you start feeling emotions. All just kind of out of the blue, you start feeling, oh, wow, am I feeling so emotional right now? I'm feeling so, you might call it sadness, but it's actually just emotion. And it just kind of comes up in your body, and it's just it's expanding your heart and expanding your emotional field. And if anything negative starts to come up, sadness, depression, or anger, or anything, or anxiety, it's your opportunity to breathe into that in a different way that you normally breathe it. When it first came in, that you created anxiety or some kind of traumatic thing came in, maybe that feeling starts to get triggered. But now you're not breathing like now you're breathing and you're really being present with yourself and you're feeling the emotion of it. But because you're meeting that emotion, it's allowing to be felt and then completely released from your body. It's one of the most beautiful things that you can do. So what's happening with this is that you're getting down to the essence of who you are. Imagine that you came in as the bright light, and what got layered on top of that is conditioning of the world and your traumas and perceived traumas and all these things that happen. When you breathe like this, all those layers of conditioning and traumas and PTSDs and anxieties all start to be lifted. And the feeling and the realization that you're left with is this true essence of who you are. How magnificent is that? That is the thing that it's hard for me to express to people, is that that's what you're getting to. Imagine getting to the true essence of who you are. And I imagine, so I have this question. When we die, do we, quote, go to heaven or have this euphoric experience or this feeling of oneness and this feeling of complete love because we've completely released everything in the death process? Or is it just that, the question is, can we get to that place by releasing those things that we release while we're dying. That's my question. And this is what I believe happens in breathwork, is that we're releasing those things that we will eventually release in death. What happens after this is that there might be some thoughts coming up. I hope I'm doing this right. Oh my gosh, this feels weird. But your process, and I'm going to remind you, is to keep on breathing. And eventually what happens is that you start having no thought and you start to really engage into it, like you're completely have lost yourself in the breath, and you're you're completely engaged in breathing, and all you want to do is get more of this. All you want to do is engage deeper in this and lose yourself in this, and to see like where you could completely surrender to. And when you're in that state, that is the most beautiful state. So your body starts to vibrate. It feels like all of your cells in your body are turned on. Your face might get numb, your lips will get numb, your fingers will get numb, and everything feels like it's completely on. And there's a feeling like sometimes I'll go into it and I get more of a physical thing. My body will twitch and it's maybe shaking, and that's all me releasing the energy. And sometimes people call it kriyas, little kriya, little shocks. And there's just electrical surges through your body. Some people call it kundalini. It's just surges of energy in your body. And if you can imagine that is what you are, this energy that you're feeling is what you are. It's not coming from outside of you. It's not being applied to you. It's just that all the gates that have been holding it down are being opened. And this is what you are experiencing. Now, we can't live this way, drive a car and go to a job and all those things, but just to be reminded of this every once in a while, once a month or once a week or something, to be reminded, this is the energy that we are. And what our mind does is it filters all that down into a place that we could live in the world. And you may know people that kind of live in an in-between state of that, where they are very emotional, or they get these little shocks every once in a while. Maybe they're listening or watching something, listening to something or watching something, and they get these little shocks, or they get really emotional. Those are people that are kind of um, in between that, in between what this reference point I'm talking about, and this, very um, stable and grounded in the world. And I'm one of those people that's kind of in between that those things really affect me. So at the end of it, there's going to be some music that's more of a euphoric or etheric kind of music, or music that really kind of stirs your heart and is not so much as an activation, but just kind of a settling down. And you get to kind of exist in this bliss, exist in this euphoric state of just complete love. And you're able to have visions and have dreams or have realizations, and there's afterwards you're sometimes this feeling of deep gratitude and appreciation, not just for me or your practitioner or you and your body, but for all life, for all the crap that's happened in your life, and all the just as experience as a being on this planet. That's something that is, imagine having that feeling and trying to explain that to someone. It becomes something that it's very hard to explain, but it's something that everybody really longs for deep inside. So I'll end this by saying, just follow your heart to the best practitioner that is going to be for you. If it's me, that's fantastic. I love what I do, and I love providing this service for people and being in it myself. And but there's some great practitioners out there. Follow your heart and find the right one. Thank you for listening and watching. I love you. Thank you. Bless you.